Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head down to Sussex, and if I'm remembering correctly this is my first ever review from a brewery in Sussex, so looking forward to this one. So we're going to head to Horsham, which is just outside of Crawley, and we're doing my first ever taste of a lost and found brewery beer. So this one should be quite interesting. So this one is called R27 Trio J New England IPA. They do have some sort of numbering system when it comes to their beers. Some of the ones on the website were listed with R, some of them were listed as C. I think maybe the smaller cans are given the C and the tall boys are given the R, something like that, but really not sure how the numbering system works. It didn't really explain it on the website either. That's something they maybe need to chuck on there. But this was another one that was recommended to me by Ben from the Hop Knocker in Durham, and he's pointed me in the direction of some really quite nice beers. So I'm sure this one will be another interesting one. If you are watching from the Durham area, of course, do make sure you go and check out the shop. I'll put the link to the Facebook page in the video description below, and they've always got some great beers coming in, so I highly recommend that you go there. But really cool to try my first beer from Sussex. These guys were originally based in Brighton from what I gather, but it should be a really interesting review, and I'm certainly looking forward to trying this one, so I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer as well. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I will hopefully be able to do in the future from Lost and Founded. Very first time I'm trying one of their beers, like I said. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beer from different countries. There is one there for all the English beers that I've reviewed for you, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Lost and Found then. So Lost and Found are quite a new company actually. They were only founded back in 2016, and the three founders are Chris Angelkov, and then Simon and Jill Checkley, who are of course husband and wife. So Chris has a background in design, and he designs all of these kind of beer labels. Apparently he's designed some stuff for the Rolling Stones and things like that, so really quite a prominent designer actually. But Simon is the head brewer, and he was a former corporate strategist, and his wife Jill was a biology teacher. But apparently the whole thing with brewing started off with Chris home brewing in their garage and things. Apparently had a proper nano brewery that was it was basically like an industrial brewery but on the nano scale. Apparently it was a really clever setup that he used to have. But originally this brewery were based in Brighton, but they recently moved to a new kind of bigger premises in Horsham, and apparently they use liquid yeasts in their beers. They're kind of mainly focusing on IPAs and stuff like that, and I think there was one or two sour beers in there when I was looking at it as well, but they do seem to focus on the IPAs and pale ales and things like that at the moment. And one of the really interesting points about this brewery is that they've got their beers in at the Tate Modern Art Gallery in London, which is pretty cool. I think they're supposed to be the official supplier of beer to Tate Modern Art Gallery, which is kind of interesting. I don't think I've ever heard of any other brewery before being the supplier of beer to an art gallery. I think that's definitely a new one in the 1,300 videos that I've done for you so far. So quite a unique point for the brewery. They were rated on Untappd as one of the new top 10 breweries in the UK in 2017, so you know, it seems that they've got a pretty good pedigree there, so we'll see how we get on with this beer. But that was all the information I was really able to find on this brewery, and they do seem to be a very new company, so hopefully we'll hear from them in the fairly near future a little bit more. Hopefully I can review more of their beers. But yeah, if you want to learn a little bit more, check out the brewery website in the description below. You can follow them on Facebook and keep up to date with what's going on. They do seem to be quite a prolific brewery, so they're always putting out different beers and things like that. So yeah, let's have a taste of this one then and see how we get on. So as I was mentioning to you, this one is a 5.4% pale ale. The hops in this one, it's HBC 431, Equinaut, Citra, Victoria's Secret. The malt base is it's, what was it again? It says on the side here. It's Golden Promise, Maris Otter, Vienna malts. I love a bit of Vienna malt. Actually, I've never had that in a New England IPA. I think that could be good. There's Golden Naked Oats, torrefied wheat, and the yeast in this one is a Lallemand New England ale yeast, and I think that comes from Denmark actually, if I remember the Lallemand yeast. So it's a liquid yeast, that one. But yeah, should be a really nice beer, this one. I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork on this one before we open the can up. Nicely presented there. It's they've got their own really distinctive style of artwork. All of these beers are different, but they're very distinctive for the kind of textiles and things like that. So you will notice that when it comes to the beers when you're trying these ones. But without further ado then, let's get it out and we'll get on with the tasting. And you can smell some of that lovely, juicy, fruity quality coming out of this one as we open it up. There we are. I'll just put all of it in, why not? So there you go. As you can see with this beer, it's poured a nice, quite bright yellow. It's, you know, it smells like Starburst or something like that. It really does as you open this one up. But you could see there was a little bit of a half finger of a kind of bumpy white head. That's just faded away to be a very, very thin foamy layer. Some big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass there. Quite a few little ones heading up towards the bottom of the glass there. But overall, it kind of does look pretty much as you would expect from a New England type IPA. It's got that hazy kind of colour about it. There is a bit of a debate actually. I was talking to Han Yolo, one of the beer tubers over in America, and he was saying that you know, this beer doesn't appear you know, like fruit juice in the way that some of the other ones can, but this one, he was saying that about one of the Neon Raptor ones that I reviewed. But yeah, this beer, it is definitely, it's got that haze for days thing about it. That is of course the big craze just now, is these kind of haze for days beers. But yeah, really nicely presented this one. I would say in terms of colour, definitely a sort of nice bright yellow, a few big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass like I said, and the head is just kind of completely gone away. But yeah, nice looking beer this one, and as I say, there's a nice big juicy fruity note coming out of it. So let's take a closer look at that. Ooh. So yeah, this one for me has got a lot of, there's quite a lot of peach coming out of this one, and that'll be from the HBC, the 431 in there. Definitely some kind of, and the Victoria's Secret can give you a little bit of a peachy note as well. But yeah, peaches, apricots, mangoes from the Citra. Definitely a bit of mango in there. Wondering if there's a wee bit of passion fruit or something. It's definitely got a little bit of that slightly darker kind of tropical fruit as well. There's some limey notes in there too. That'll be the Equinaut. I can definitely pick up a wee bit of lime under that, but it's basically a big kind of tropical fruit bowl, this one. There's a little bit of grassy character to it. There's not really anything kind of spicy and floral coming out of it, which is surprising considering the hops in there. But yeah, big juicy beer this one. You can pick up a little bit of the oaty kind of creamy notes and the sort of wheaty character to this one as well. But and there's a little bit of a biscuit quality as well. But really, this beer overall, the aroma's leaning towards the kind of fruity, juicy side of things, which to be honest is kind of what you expect from the New England IPA. It has a little bit of that malt base, it's got a bit of grassy hop in there as well, but mainly it's a big, juicy, fruity thing. So let's leave it at that for the aroma. Check it out for yourself. As I always say, that's half the experience when it comes to craft beer, but let's have a taste of this one then. So just so I get the name right, this one is the R27 Trio J New England IPA. Let's have a taste of this beer, my first ever from Surrey and my first ever from Lost and Found Brewery. Let's get stuck in. Slàinte, skål. Yeah, it's very, this beer for me is very straight up. It's a really, you know, it comes across as a really easy drinker. I mean, at 5.4%, it probably is more in paleo territory than IPA, I would say. You really need to be over 6%, I would say, to be an IPA. And of course, you know, the IPA, the paleo, the IPA, the double IPA, the barley wine, these beers are all related with a hop to malts ratio, to be honest with you, so it is a bit of a grey area. But in terms of the quality of the beer, it is pretty good actually. This one's got a good hoppy kick to it, which is what you always want. So yeah, with this one, the malt base is very straight up like you would expect. You can feel there's a nice little bit of a bready quality that just blankets the middle of the tongue. On top of that, you can feel a little bit of there's definitely a little bit of a biscuity sweetness from that. That's the Maris Otter coming out, and probably the Vienna as well. The Vienna malts give you a nice little bit of a kind of bready note. Vienna malts, they're definitely one of my favourite ones. You don't see them used all that often in newer craft beers. You know, it's the traditional Vienna lagers and things like that that you see them used in quite a lot. But it's a nice beer, this one. I like how I like how it all goes together actually. The malt base is really nice. I think that's something I'd like to experiment a little bit when it comes to homebrewing. Stick a bit of Vienna malts in there and just give a little bit of sweetness to the New England IPA. But yeah, it really is nice, this. I like that. But yeah, as I say, that you feel that wheaty bready quality, that just blankets the middle of your palate. On top of it you get the oaty creaminess, that nice biscuity, slightly bready note from the Vienna malts is there as well, and you've got a little bit of a kind of graininess from the Maris Otter kind of pushing its way out as well, which is nice. I like that when you've got these New England IPAs, when the malt base has a little bit of complexity to it. It just adds so much to the beer. I mean, that's one of the things I think that was forgotten a little bit with this style, is having a bit of complexity and a bit of sweetness in the malt base. A lot of these New England IPAs were just putting a straight up smooth malt base, and for me, I found that a little bit boring. And it was the same with the black IPAs. I always thought with the black IPAs, they had to be imperial to get what you really wanted out of them. They had to have a little bit of caramel or something like that in them, just to give you that little bit of sweetness, rather than being, you know, roasty and dark. And the same with the New England IPAs. They need a little bit of sweetness in there instead of being just, you know, oaty and smooth, if that makes sense. You've got to have something else in there, and they've done that nicely. So I will compliment these guys. The malt base that's in this beer is, I really quite like that. I have to say that about this one. And in terms of the hoppy side of the beer as well, it's nice. I mean, everything in this beer fits together really well. It's quite an easy drinker, this one. I would definitely say that about it. In terms of the hoppy side of the beer, back corners of the palate, there's a teeny little bit of earthiness to this one. It's almost like a noble earthiness, but there isn't noble hops in this beer as far as I can gather. But as you come further forward, along the sides of the palate there, you can see there's a nice sort of, it is a bit more floral than the aroma was given away. There is a little bit of a, not quite spicy, but a little bit of there is a little bit of that kind of aromatic quality to this beer on the sides of the palate. Then round the very front curve of the tongue, it's just a little bit lighter and grassy, and of course behind the front curve of the palate, that's where you get that little oily bubble where those nice juicy fruity esters start to come out of the beer. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on with the fruity side of this beer. For me, there's a little bit of passion fruit form in the backbone of the beer. There's definitely some mango in there. I think there's sort of pineapples and peaches as well. As you go further into the aftertaste, I would say it smooths out a little bit and you get a little bit of apricot. And I think there's a bit, you know, to be honest, when it's coming out a little bit, there is a bit of limey quality in there. Again, the Equinox one that I've always liked. I do like how it gives you a bit of that kind of limey quality. It's one of these hops that you always notice in a beer when it's there, because of how it, you know, just how it kind of comes out. But I really like that sort of quality in this beer. As you go further into the aftertaste, there's maybe a little bit of a kind of lychee, sort of gooseberry quality from this one. I think that's the Citra kind of pushing its way out. But yeah, as I say, there's definitely some passion fruits in there, a bit of mango, sort of peachy note as well. The lime is definitely in there, and as you go kind of further into the flavour, I think you get a bit of apricot, a bit of lychee, a bit of gooseberry, maybe a little bit of pineapple or something like that as well coming out of it. It's just got a really nice, it's mainly a big tropical kind of bomb, this beer, in terms of the fruity side of things, but it's really nicely done, this one. And as I say, it's a nice kind of easy drinking beer. But yeah, I like how that all goes together. They've really done a nice job with this, so thumbs up to the guys at Lost and Found with this one. I'd love to try some of their other IPAs and things like that. I'd love to see if they would do a West Coast IPA. And in terms of the mouthfeel of this beer, to be honest with you, the mouthfeel of this one is a little bit more like a West Coast IPA, and that was one of the things that I was mentioning that Han and I talked about a little bit. You know, a lot of the New England IPAs, they really have that kind of fruit juice sort of appearance to them. This one, for me, it has the New England flavour, but it's a little bit more like a kind of West Coast mouthfeel, and that's what probably makes it a little bit more drinkable, to be honest. There's nothing wrong with that. Just a little observation I've made over the time that I've been drinking these beers, but I like how this one goes together. I'd say this beer is it's probably mid-bodied. The carbonation in this one is quite smooth. It's got a little bit of an oily mouthfeel, this one, a little bit more of an oily wet mouthfeel. It doesn't quite have the sort of creaminess or smoothness that you would expect of a kind of full New England IPA, if that makes sense, and that's what I'm meaning. It has the New England flavour profile, Although I would say the malt base in this one with the vanilla, with the Vienna malts and things like that, does give it a little bit more sweetness, and I really like that about it actually. But it's definitely, it has the New England flavour with that bit of sweetness, but it's got more of a West Coast kind of mouthfeel to it, which really suits it actually. It makes it nice and drinkable. There's a good bit of hoppy bitterness to this one. I would guess there's somewhere in the region of like, I would say probably about 60, maybe 70 IBUs. It's somewhere around that kind of mark, this one. There's, I would say, the malt base, as I say, it is smooth, but it has that little bit of sweetness to it. I like the fact that they've put all these different malts together and given the New England base a bit more complexity. That's one of the big pluses with this beer. And it's got a lot of nice juicy fruity quality to it. So overall, you know, this beer gets a big thumbs up from me. They've done a nice job of it. It's got the fruity qualities. I like the fact that the malt base has more of a complex note to it compared to some of the other New England type beers that I've got, and I like that it's got the drinkability of the West Coast IPAs. Actually, it's really nicely done, this beer. So I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink it again, and it does make me very curious about some of the other beers that I've got. So hopefully I can get a hold of another one of these at some point. Hopefully they make their way out to Sweden or up to Scotland, and I can get a hold of a few more of them. But yeah, really interesting beer, this one, and I'm glad that I got to review it. So thank you to Ben for the recommendation. So let's leave it at that. So once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Check out my social media. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Lost and Founded Brewery as well. This has been the first time I've tried one of their beers, but it certainly won't be the last. But yeah, the Rio, what was it called again? The R27 Trio J New England IPA, really nice beer, this one. I like that bit of complexity that the malt base has. That's really the big plus for this beer for me. But thank you again for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. Make sure you check out some of these Lost and Founded IPAs if you get the chance. Slàinte just now. Skål.